student. Welcome to the class of operating system. So in the previous day, we have discussed up to this. We have discussing about the various system services provided by the operating system. We have discussing about the system programs environment. Now today, we will start our discussion from operating system design and implementation. Okay, so design and implementation of operating system is not solvable, but some approaches have proven successful. That means there is no particular solution of a design of operating system. There may be some approaches. Okay, so the internal structure of different operating systems can vary widely. One operating system can be differ from other. Okay, right. So the internal structure of them can vary widely. So start by defining goal and specification. So whenever we are going to describe an operating system, we need to start with what? That goals, defining goals, whatever the objective of that particular operating system achieve, and the specification, that means characteristics. It's affected by choice of hardware, type of system. So the user goals and system goals, they are different. What is the user goals? The operating system should be convenient to use, easy to learn, reliable, safe, and fast. This is the user requirement. User wants to use a user-friendly operating system. Those are convenient to the user. Okay, easy to learn, easy to use, safe, reliable, and fast also. Now what is the system goal? Operating system should be easy to design, implement, and maintain, as well as flexible, reliable, error-free, and efficient. So these are the goals of system. So from the system point of view, the operating system should be easy to design, easy to implement, and easy to maintain. And as well as these particular operating system also should be flexible, reliable, error-free, and efficient also. So how we can separate them? So firstly, policy. What will be done? Okay. So what is the requirement basically? And then the mechanism, how we can achieve that requirements, how to do it. So mechanism determines how to do some things, and policy decides what will be done. Okay. So the separation of policy from mechanism is a very important principle. It allows maximum flexibility if policy decisions are to be changed later. Okay. So the simple structure, MS-DOS, written to provide the most functionality in the least space. The simplest one, not divided into modules. Although MS-DOS has some structure, its interfaces and levels of functionality are not well separated. Okay. So these are the layer structure of MS-DOS. You can see at the most internal level, we have ROM BIOS, device drivers. Then we have MS-DOS device drivers. Resident system programs. These resident system programs can directly communicate with this ROM BIOS, and application programs are also can directly contact with this ROM BIOS. So this is basically the layer structure of MS-DOS. Very simple. Now, layered approach. The operating system is divided into a number of layers, that means levels, and each built on top of lower layers. The bottom layer is the hardware. The highest, that means the layer N, is the user interface. Always. Always the bottom layer is the hardware. in this case, the hardware is ROM bus device driver, and application program is the user interface. And always the highest layer, it may be the nth layer, that is basically the user interface where user is going to be interacting. With modularity, layers are selected such that each uses functions, operations, and services of only lower level layers. So each layer can use the functions and services of only lower level. Okay. So this is basically a pictorial representation. Here layer 0 is the hardware and layer n is the user interface. Here you can see layer 1 is going to cover the layer 0, then layer 2 is going to cover layer 1 like this. Okay, so layer 1 can use all the functionalities of layer 0. Layer 2 can use all the functionalities of layer 1 and layer 0 like this. Now another operating system, Unix, limited by hardware functionality. The original Unix operating system had limited structuring also. The Unix operating system consists of two separable parts, system programs and the kernel. In MS-DOS, there is no separation. But in the Unix, the separation comes system programs and the kernel. The kernel consists of everything below the system calls interface and above the physical hardware. Okay, so system call interface and the physical hardware intermediate, whatever is there, that is basically the kernel. So it provides the file system, provides CPU scheduling, memory management, and other operating system functions. A large number of functions for one level. Okay? A very huge responsibility. This is the Unix system structure. Here, this is the topmost layer where the users are there, and this is the lower level where we have terminal controllers, device controllers, and memory controllers who are going to control respectively terminals, disk and taps, and the physical memory. And then here we have the kernel interface to the hardware. Okay, and this is the system call interface to the kernel. So basically, this is the kernel where we have signals, terminal handling, character IO system, terminal drivers, file system, swapping block IO system, disk and tape drives, CPU scheduling, page replacement, demand paging, virtual memory. That means whatever activity, whatever services provides by the operating system, every functions of the operating systems are actually here. Okay, and there is a kernel interface to the hardware by which this kernel is going to interact with the hardware, and there is a system call interface to the kernel by which the kernel is going to interact with the shell and commands, compiler and interpreter system libraries, through which the users are going to interact with the system. So this is basically the Unix system structure. Okay, here you can see a huge responsibility is given to the kernel. Now come to the microkernel system structure. Moves as much from the kernel into user space. Here you can see nothing in the user space. Everything is stuffed in the kernel. But when we come to the microkernel system structure, we are starting to move as much from the kernel into the user space. Communication takes place between user modules using message passing. Benefits: easier to extend a microkernel, easier to port the operating system to a new architecture, more reliable, less code is running in kernel mode, more secure. What is the detriments? That means the disadvantage: performance overhead of user space to kernel space communication. Okay. Mac OS structure. Here you can see this is the Mac. Okay, so in kernel environment BCD is there. Now application environment and common services are there. all the things are not in the kernel environment. Okay? Modules. Now, most modern operating systems implement kernel modules. User object-oriented approaches are there. Each core component is separate in different modules. Each talks to the other over known interfaces. Each is loadable as needed within the kernel. So overall, similar to layers, but with more flexibility. Here is an example, Solaris modular approach. Here, this is the core Solaris kernel, and you can see for every functionality, there is a module for scheduling classes, a module for file system, a module for loadable systems calls. So for every functionalities, there are separate modules. For device and bus driver, there is a module. For miscellaneous modules are also there. Streams modules are also there. So for everything, for every functionality, there is a module. Now come to the virtual machine. A virtual machine takes the layered approach to its logical conclusion. It treats hardware and the operating system kernel as though they were all hardware. Okay. So the virtual machine provides an interface identical to the underlying bare hardware. The operating system creates the illusion of multiple processes, each executing on its own processor with its own virtual memory. Okay, so a virtual environment is created, and the operating system kernel is going to be treated as a hardware. Okay? So the resources of the physical computer are shared to create the virtual machine. CPU scheduling can create the appearance that users have their own processor. Spooling and file system can provide virtual card readers and virtual line printers. A normal user time sharing terminal serves as the virtual machine apparatus consoles. So the resources of the physical computer are going to serve and create a virtual machine. So this is a non-virtual machine where we have processors, kernel and hardware. Now this is a virtual machine. Here you can see from a single machine we can create multiple virtual machines. Okay, VM1, VM2, VM3, and there is a virtual machine implementation layer is there. And here we can, for every virtual machine, we have multiple kernels and multiple processors can be executed in different virtual machines. Okay. So the virtual machine concept provides complete protection of system resources since each virtual machine is isolated from all other virtual machines. This isolation, however, permits no direct sharing of resources. So every virtual machine is isolated from another. You can see from every virtual machine there is a different kernel. So every virtual machine is isolated from another, and though they are isolated, they cannot share resources. A virtual machine system is a perfect vehicle for operating systems research and development. System development is done on the virtual machine instead of an physical machine, and so does not disrupt normal system operation. So if every research work, every development done on the virtual machine, we can see the effect of that research and development on the virtual machine also. So the normal physical machines are not going to be disrupted by the or affected by this research work. Okay, so the virtual machine concept is difficult to implement due to the effort required to provide an exact duplicate to the underlying machine. Okay? So this is the VMware architecture you can have. Here you can see the applications layer. This is the application layer, and these are the hardware where the CPU, memory, and I/O devices are there. And there is a host operating system, maybe the Linux. And here you can see there is a virtualization layer are there. Now applications can directly run on this host operating system also, and applications can run on a virtual machine through the virtualization layer also. Here you can see the guest operating system can be a FreeBSD, can be Windows NT, can be Windows XP, whatever. Okay, so there is a virtual CPU, there is a virtual memory, and virtual devices for every application separately. They are not shared. So this is basically the architecture of VMware. So this is an example of Java Virtual Machine, JVM. Here you can see the host systems are there. It can be a Windows, it can be a Linux, and etc. Java interpreter is run on the class loader is there, and there's a Java program class, and this is Java everywhere. Because of the JVM, Java is the platform independent. So now we are going to talk about the operating system generation. Operating systems are designed to run on any of a class of machines. The system must be configured for each specific computer site. Sysgen program obtain information concerning the specific configuration of the hardware system. Booting is a very starting of the computer by loading the kernel. Bootstrap program is there, the code stored in ROM, and that is able to locate the kernel, load it into memory, and start execution. So Bootstrap program is the first program when the system run. Okay, system boot. So operating system must be made available to hardware so hardware can start it. So for this, a small piece of code, that is the Bootstrap loader, which is going to locate the kernel and loads it into memory and starts it. Sometimes two-stage process are there where boot block at fixed location loads Bootstrap loader. When power initialized and system, execution starts at a fixed memory location. Firmware used to hold initial boot. So basically these are the things which is important for the system structure, and today's class we are basically discuss about different kinds of operating systems and their structure. So we have started from the system, so we are actually in this class we are intended to discuss about the system design and the implementation of operating system. And for that, policy and mechanism are the two things we need to decide. Policy means what will be done, that means by the operating system whatever things we want to do, and the mechanism is how we can do. Now if policy and mechanism can be separate, the system will become more flexible. We have started from the simple structure, that is MS-DOS is provide the most simplest structure. We have discussed the architecture of the MS-DOS, and these are the layered architecture, and every layer is going to share the functionalities, going to access the functionalities of the lower layer. Okay, and this is the layered approach where these are the figure of the layered operating system. Unix is first come in this discussion, and where the kernel have a huge load, and then we have discussed about the Unix system structure where you can see all the functionality of the operating system is performed by the kernel. And then the microkernel system structure come where the load of the kernel, the Mac operating system come where the load of the kernel, some sort of it is reduced. And then we have the modular system where the Solaris modular approach is discussed, where for a kernel is going to be distributed into modules, and every functionalities, for every functionalities there are different modules. There's a core Solaris modules, Solaris kernel, and they are going to for every functionalities there is a separate module. And then the virtual machines we have discussed, where we have created a virtual machine environment, that is the VMware basically, and how it can be created, how it can be helpful, that we have discussed. So these are the things. This is basically the Java virtual machines, and the operating system generation are also discussed, how it's loaded. It is loaded by the Bootstrap program is the first thing that is going to be stored in the ROM, and whenever the system on, it is going to be able to locate the kernel and load the kernel in the main memory. And we all know the main memory is volatile. So every time the kernel should be loaded in the main memory. Okay, so then the system will burn. So these are the things we have discussed today. So this is the end of today's lecture. So thank you, student. Study all the material that is shared and be safe, be happy. Thank you.